In this section, we're going to talk about something called storage engines, and MySQL has quite a few of them. I believe, they have 10 storage engines, but some of them may not be available in certain situations. But basically, what a storage engine does is it stores, handles, and retrieves data from a database table. All right, so it's what interacts with the table, and there's no perfect storage engine for you to use in all situations. Some applications may have a lot of data, some may have a little, but it needs to be fast. So there's different requirements for different applications. But the two main storage engines that are used are MyISAM and InnoDB. All right, these are the two main storage engines, and up until MySQL 5.5.5 was released, MyISAM was the default database, but for this version and on, it's the InnoDB, which is the default. You can see which storage engines are available. If you go to the command line and you do show engines, that'll show you a list of all the supported engines. And here's a quick list of the available MySQL engines. Of course, we have MyISAM and InnoDB. We also have Merge, Memory, which is also known as Heap, BDB, which is also known as Berkeley DB, Example, Archive, CSV, Black Hole, and ISAM. Alright, so MyISAM actually comes from ISAM, which isn't used too much anymore. Now what I'm going to do is go through a quick rundown of each of these. But before we do that, let's talk about the storage engine benefits. Basically, the reasons why you may choose one storage engine over another. So we would have the amount of data. Different engines give different speed and performance. Functionality, for instance, some engines will only do, I believe the Merge engine will only do an insert and a select. It doesn't do update or delete. So different kinds of functionality, the size and the maximum number of rows, and also data integrity. So when and where to choose these storage engines? Well, you can select a specific storage engine for the entire database as well as individual tables. And here's an example of a query where we could create a table using different engines. So we would just use the standard create table and then the table name, and we want to specify engine and then the equal sign and then the name of the engine. Okay. You can set the default engine to be used during the current session by setting the default storage engine. Oops, sorry about that. The default storage engine variable. Alright, so you can see an example right here. We're going to set the engine to MyISAM. Alright, we can do this through any client we use. For instance, PHPMyAdmin, it's really easy to change the storage engine. So let's go over each one. Well, basically, we're going to go over MyISAM and InnoDB, and then we'll go over the other ones quickly because they're not as common. So the MyISAM storage engine is, like I said, it's based on the older ISAM storage, which is no longer available. It has many useful extensions and features. Like I said, this was the default table up until MySQL 5.5.5. It supports full text search indexes. What full text search allows us to do is to use we can take a phrase or a word or a letter, and we can match it up against a certain table column. So basically, it can be used as a website or application search tool, which is really nice. And there are ways you can enable full text search on InnoDB as well. Data cache, no data cache, does have index cache. It uses table level locking. InnoDB uses row level locking, which has better performance. But MyISAM is great for sites that have a very low insert and update rate and a very high select rate. Alright, so It's optimal if you have a database that you're going to be just getting data from and displaying. Alright, so that performs better than inserting data or updating data. Okay, the InnoDB storage engine, it has a lot more features than the MyICM engine. That's why it's now the default for MySQL. It uses row-level locking, which has better performance. It allows parallel insert, update, and delete queries to be ran on the same table, unlike MyICM, where each query has to wait for its turn. InnoDB supports foreign key functionality, which is a huge advantage. Basically, we're going to talk about this later as well, but let's say you have a products table. Actually, let's say we have a customer table, and then we have a customer address table. Now, with foreign key support and functionality, we can make it so that if we delete a user or customer, then their address would also be deleted on the related table, on the addresses table. So that's very important, and it's a very nice feature to have. So we'll quickly go through some of the other engines that are less common. So we have merge, which enables users to have a collection of identical MyICM tables to be handled by a single table. Sorry about that, guys. Let me just turn that off real quick. Alright, so we have memory, which provides in-memory tables, and this isn't good for long-term usage, testing, things like that. BDB, or Berkeley, it handles transaction-safe tables and uses a hash-based storage system, but you can see that there's a lot of downfalls, including speed, especially on unindexed rows, and this makes BDB a less than perfect engine choice, and this is actually from the MySQL documentation. Example is basically a stub engine. It's used for testing and staging, things like that. Archive is great for a really huge amount of data, but this is actually the table I was talking about that it only supports select and insert. Okay, so it's great for things like logging. CSV stores data in comma separated values. This is good for transferring data to a spreadsheet for later use. Black hole, it actually doesn't store data at all, but it is good for testing, structure, indexes, and queries, things like that. So that's a rundown of all the storage engines. We will only be dealing with InnoDB and MyICM. So next we are going to get into data types and understanding what kind of data types are available to us.